Steven Adams traded to the Rockets. Jalen Green rumors. Alperen Sengun did not get picked for the All-Star game. And what's wrong with the Rockets offense? I talk about all of this right now. Tap in. Enjoy. The Rockets Chop Shop is your one-stop shop for all your basketball needs, for highlights, analysis, podcasts. We do it all here at the Rockets Chop Shop. Make sure you hit the like button on the videos that you watch if you enjoy them. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications from all the great drops that we have on the channel. Also, you can visit the Chop Shop merch store and get you some of the swaggiest gear in the Houston Rockets kingdom. And if you want, you can always support the channel directly through donations. And if you want, you can support us through our partnerships with our sponsors. The Rockets Chop Shop is made by fans, for fans, and we're going to keep rocking and keep dropping that heat.
This is something I know.
What is up, CSGs? Welcome to another episode of the Rockets Chop Shop Pod. I got a special guest today. Now, you guys know I don't really like to collab a lot. Most of my videos are ISOs, but I definitely wanted to bring my brother Mitty on because he talks the talks of the gods, which is the data. And Mitty just launched a new site a little bit ago called Centers Culture. It is a godsend for me because I'm a guy. I have about 6 different subscriptions to Synergy, to Cleaning the Glass, to Stat, all this stuff. And you got to dig through each team's dashboard to get all the data I use for these videos that y'all love. Mitty has made my life easier because on his website, everything is just right there for you to just filter and sort. Mitty, what is good, brother?
Nothing much, man. A lot of stuff has happened. The trade just happened with, we were about to record the podcast and the trade with Steven Adams just happened. Alpi just got snubbed. They just did the announcements. We don't know if he's a reserve or not, or a wild card or whatever you want to call it. And then also some news about Jalen from a podcast by Sam Amik. I guess they wrote the article with Kelly and whatever. But glad to be here, man. If you're not subscribed to him, please do. He's probably one of the best analyst guys in not only Rockets basketball but just in NBA general.
Man, appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. And we're both Sengun truthers. If just for all transparency, me and Mitty are one of the few sane minds in the Rockets kingdom that actually understand what we're seeing when we watch basketball. But nonetheless, bro, I mean, you just laid out 3 juicy topics. Obviously, we're going to start off with the trade. I'm going to give my reactions, and I'll let you kind of kick back. Personally, I'm kind of having mixed feelings about this trade right now because it's not in a vacuum. If you look at it just as an isolated trade, what it looks like the Rockets have done is kick the can down the road one more deadline. Basically, you trade one injured player for another injured player with Steven Adams being traded for VO. Steven Adams is a $12 million 2-year salary. So next year he being expiring, VO expires this year as a salary. So you basically just kind of lock in that spot without possibly losing Victor Oladipo this year. But the cost is 3 second-round picks. Now, in a vacuum, Steven Adams, good player, definitely one of the known vets in the NBA. I love what he does for guards he plays with. So this is a good in a vacuum. If you think let's say he's fully healthy, you're thinking about Jalen. You're thinking about if he's here. You're thinking about Amen Thompson. You're thinking about all the guards. And for a Sengun, mentoring another tough international player that he possibly could gel with and give him a different look than the Boban hugs that we normally get in the high fives that Boban does. So somebody's actually going to teach him different things on the court, rebounding, boxing out, kind of that tough guy approach that I think Sengun's game could definitely use. But the reason we got Victor Oladipo, brother, is because we traded KPJ. And we traded KPJ because of KPJ's actions, and that trade cost us 2 second-round picks. So basically, we traded KPJ to the Thunder for 2 picks. They gave us VO, and now we're trading VO with 3 picks to Steven Adams. So basically, the whole KPJ situation has cost the Rockets 5 second-round picks. Now, as we're even recording, I was looking through my Twitter. There are people that are saying, oh, it's just second-round picks. if you are a listener of this channel and you think second round picks after these past few deadlines are useless, then you just don't know ball. Just to say it plainly. I don't know if you remember, Mitty, last year's deadline, there were starting level wings and role players that on contenders that were being moved around for second round picks. In fact, a number 2 overall pick, James Wiseman from the Warriors, was traded for the same, and not saying he's good, but the same amount of second round picks that it took for us to offload Kevin Porter Jr. Now we can talk about the basketball stuff about the possibly in the future with Stephen Adams, but what is your like view on the trade just initially, as you haven't really had time to think about it?
I think it's good. You obviously just get another backup center, but like you said again, like they push the can down the road like they've been doing, and we have yet to see some sort of consolidation mode or move for Stone. He's kind of just in this like he doesn't want to make a direct decision to just make a big change yet. He's still kind of, I guess, gathering data and seeing what he has before he gets one of those contracts that are kind of like long term that the coach likes. Maybe it's Mikal Bridges or whatever down the road, but they want some. I guess what I'm saying is they're kicking the can down the road. But I do think Steven Adams is going to be really good for Alpi. And just kind of our rebounding and defense in general. The strongest, biggest guy that we have is Alpi, and he's a 21-year-old guy. And then when they kind of want to go a little bit smaller or like even just change him, Jock doesn't really do anything. Jeff is okay, but he's getting old and he moves like a 4 a bit, and sometimes he's just completely gassed on the court for whatever reason, and you got to take him out. And then Jabari's not there yet. He's 20 years old. But I think it's going to be good for Alpi. I think they're going to be able to work with him during practice and kind of, I guess, simulate how it would be against other NBA centers and all that stuff. But I'm okay with the move. I'm curious whether Ime wants to play Alpi with Adams. I don't think that would be the case, but we'll see. I'm okay. Like it's an okay trade for me, but like you said, 5 second round picks. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, and now that was from the asset standpoint, from the basketball standpoint, just assuming he comes back healthy, right? That his knees aren't pixie dust, that he comes back healthy and he's playable and he actually competes next year. I think he's a good player. Steven Adams is one of the best rebounders in the league when he is healthy, and also one of the best screeners. I think this is a dude that, if you look at his track record with the guards that he's played with throughout his career, it's the Russes, the John Morants, and things like that. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of these young guards really got into their own under him. And honestly, like, a good screener is a guard's best friend, and it's no wonder why Jalen really thrives with Alpi when Alpi is like the one in the middle of his action, screening for him and things like that. Now, as far as play style, like, to me, I wanted somebody a little more athletic that's able to kind of run, because I like what we were doing with the second unit, having kind of, because our main first unit, even though they can run and pace, they're going to be a half court team, and which is perfectly fine. And I do not mind that, because to me, half court is a playoff style. And if you're good at it in the regular season, that usually translates well into the playoffs. The teams that are teams that are pace teams in the playoffs, they either struggle or their pace slows down to a halt. Like, at some point, you have to get comfortable playing at a sub 100 pace in the NBA, and I'm okay with that being our brand. But I did like the counter punch of bringing Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore off the bench, and they maybe still be able to do that with additional players that they bring in. I wanted a different type of center, but as a player, I think I do value what he brings. Him and Alpiz together, to me, though, I just really don't see that. The spacing to me is not there, and he's not dynamic enough as an offensive player to really, or honestly as a defensive player as well, to really kind of make that work, in my opinion, unless you think Şengün takes a leap as far as with his mobility on both ends of the court.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. I don't think it would be actually that much of a great, I guess, duo if they're playing on the same, I guess, on the same lineup. Alpi would probably need to get a 3-point shot or something in the summer, and also be a little bit more mobile. Though you did bring up a good point about Steven Adams being good for the guards, and I think that's absolutely true. He's one of the best. He's actually absolutely one of the best screeners in the NBA, and he has been for a while. During his time in OKC, his time with the Grizzlies. I think he played for the Pelicans as well, but
He did. He did.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he really. I mean, and you talk to other NBA players, and a lot of their comments on Steven Adams is that you try to like if he's screening you and you're on defense and you hit him, it's just like it's a stone
Correct.
wall, and
Yeah.
you get hurt. You get hurt a lot of the times, and it's not easy to play against him. But he's going to be great for obviously pick and rolls and um, but he's also not the most mobile. And I do think that Ime likes to have a couple lineups where he can switch everything, and that's where Jabari
Yeah.
comes in at the 5. Um, so yeah, I mean we'll see. It's just another one of those things where it's just like we gotta wait a little bit. It's nothing. Um, Nothing, I guess, right now that we can,
Right.
I guess, yeah, mess with.
And obviously he's hurt, so he has a knee injury, so he's not going to play the season, guys. So it's going to be next year. So looking at the contracts, I wrote them down that are left. So the Rockets, so Oladipo is off the table. We still have Jeff Green at 9.6 million. We still have Jock Landale at 8 million. We still have Tate at 6.5. Bullocks and Holiday together are combined about 5 million. Altogether, I mean, aggregated, that's $29 million in salary. And kind of pivoting over to the next story that we're going to talk about with Jalen Green, Sam Amick from the Athletic just they wrote a piece kind of describing, which everybody kind of heard about the piece, but in the podcast that he basically kind of expounded on it more, saying that specifically that the Rockets do not view Jalen as a centerpiece of the core going forward, and they're willing to have discussions about moving him and chasing a star.
And what I think we now have learned is that, we have this breakout season from Şengün, who is clearly a foundational piece for what they're doing. And I'll be honest, and not to hit the rewind button too much, but man, the Stephen Silas era was obviously just one of those that will kind of be forgotten as they pivoted, during the post-Harden time. But I will say that, Şengün and what he is now compared to the part he had in the program under Silas is just vastly different. And Ime has pulled that out of him. I think he deserves credit for that. But Jalen Green was the focus of the story that Kelly and Shams and I put together. And essentially that he's not seen internally as the building block, and that they have been open to not only talking about him, but looking at bigger names. They're star hunting, so to speak.
Which to me was shocking. I'm not going to lie. And not even shocking that they may think that, but it's shocking that it leaked and somebody actually gave him that in a story, which is really weird. To me, that is weird to me. If you throw his contract in there, they have up to $38 million to, I guess, chase a star that they want, or maybe a semi-star in somebody else. Do you think in this trade deadline, what is your view on what the Rockets should do with the assets they still have left? Are you go in on something big right now, or are you looking at still kind of assessing where the team needs to go from here?
No, absolutely assessing where the team needs to go. I don't think you should trade Jalen Green at all this deadline. And like you said, he's on a rookie contract. You said it before that those rookie contracts are very valuable, and you get to decide what they do because they also always end in an RFA, a restricted free agency. So you control wherever he goes. If somebody wants to pay him big bucks, and you get to make the decision where you want to pay him big bucks or you let him go. My personal opinion about Jalen Green is just, let him go to RFA and let him get that contract if he actually, performs well. But the biggest thing is, and I think we're going to get into this in the offense section of this, but it's shooting. We need shooting. We're one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA by far. We are, and then also I'll talk about this in offenses as well, but we're one of the lowest spot up shooting, in frequency. We don't spot up as many other teams. We're 28th in spot up attempts, spot up percentage. So there's a lot of work that we need to, and that's also because Ime doesn't want to really trust the shooters, and there's other ways of scoring. Depends on other things. That's another subject, but we need shooters. I like Malcolm Brogdon, but I feel like Portland is starting to get his kind of be happy with what he provides them, and maybe provides them with veteran leadership as well as just production in general. So there's Malcolm Brogdon. There's a couple others I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's this is if we want to get Alp and like all these other guys, Jabari, Tari, everyone on the young core like experience, even Jalen, you want to make the plan, you got to get shooters. That's the first thing. Backup center, I wouldn't mind a backup center. We already spent the money, or I guess we spent the assets to get one, but that would be nice to have a third center in the rotation, a center that you could play right now. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think with the move to get Steven Adams, they still could like theoretically get either somebody that's on just a vet minimum, or a guy like Bismack Biyombo is still out there.
Exactly.
Reunite him and Steven Adams, get the whole Memphis discarded front court from them. And there's other guys you can get off the scrap heap just to put a body that isn't Jock Landale, which would be a 1,000% improvement, right? I call Jock the human white flag. Every time I see him checking the game, I'm like, yeah, game over. Right? We're giving up. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think that I'm with you on like what we should do. And you've seen my videos. Like, I don't think that even this has nothing to do with Jalen Green, whether you hate him or love him, strictly just being a prudent team. You don't want to just give him away for a player that may or may not move the needle for you when you still have the small, even if it's a very slight chance of it happening, that he could actually turn out to be really good. There are a lot of things he's still, obviously the last few games showing that there are some things that he could bring to the table. Personally, even with his success in the last few games, I do think these are things that are sustainable. I still think there's a big gap as to where he needs to be in order for him to justify being like a centerpiece for a team. The scoring, like the numbers, do not move me. I look at his aggression, the play styles, him obviously attacking the rim, driving, getting to the free throw line, those type of things. The thing that I'm not seeing yet, though, and Calvin Murphy alluded to this in the last postgame against the Pelicans, is that when he scores, it's in a vacuum. Like it doesn't really. I mean, he had a nice skip pass, which was very nice to see, but his scoring hasn't yet reached the point where it's leveraging his gravitas to produce for the team. And to me, that's the mark of a star. That's why I'm high on Şengün. That's why I'm, guys like Luka, the Trae Youngs, like scoring in itself is a very useful skill, but it's one of the most meaningless to winning basketball games. Can you score, and then can you bend the defense, and then can you generate offense out of that? I have not seen that production from him. That may take years for him to get that. And so all the numbers and stuff are great. I love the rebounding, love the driving. But all that to say, I still think the kid has a chance to be special, even though it's not like the level of special that I thought initially. I thought he'd be like one of the greats, but even not, if he's not Kobe Bryant, I mean, he still has a chance to be a great starting two guard in the NBA. And I think when you have a player like Şengün, him just being an above average guard could be enough, like for us, especially if you can get him on a cheap deal going forward. I did want to also touch on real quick with the I know we're going to talk about the offensive play styles and all the stuff that they do with Alperen Şengün right now with the All-Star thing. They did take him off the. He's not on the reserves, right? He's not voted on, even though he had the ability to be on there. To me, the numbers don't back it up. My argument as to why I'm okay with it, the Rockets suck, right? Because you can't be an 11, 12 seed and you got guys that are like second, third, and fourth seeds and say that you're an all-star. So I'm perfectly fine. What is your initial reaction to the Şengün all-star snub, even though he was balling out?
I mean, like, it's the thing is, it's impressive that he even got into this conversation in the first place. That's what I care about the most, is that he was in the conversation. People were talking about him. People were even upset that he's snubbed. I'm obviously Rockets fans were upset. There's other people around the league. I saw on Twitter a little bit. Some
Right.
media folks weren't really happy about that. But anyways, I mean, it's important that he's just in the conversation, and that he's making something he's making something sustainable for the future. I think he can continue this production later on next year and he's only 21. I think he's about to turn 22 in July, but I'm not that upset about it because I kind of saw this coming. But like I said, it's just awesome that he was in the conversation.
Now pivoting over to the actual offense, which was going to be the main topic of what we talked about before these stories came out. The Rockets are like, I mean, I every game I watch the Rockets, they come out and it seems like try to get other players involved. And a lot of times it's going to be Jalen Green. They try to get him going early. He does a lot of kind of just pick and roll, coming off the screen, attacking downhill, or just attacking in isolation. Then another game, it may be Jabari, maybe it's Fred trying to get a shot. Then in the second half, it's like a different offense. I have not seen one unifying quality about this offensive system that Coach Udoka is running for the Rockets. And if I had a criticism for him, and I've been very, complimentary of Ime Udoka, but I've been severely disappointed. Like this, what we're seeing offensively, I know the guys are bad, and we're gonna talk about the shooting woes. But to me, with the players you have, there's so much he's leaving on the table as far as trying to maximize everyone's talents. I put a tweet out that says using the way the Rockets use Alperen Şengün is like somebody putting regular gas in a Lamborghini. Like you have a player that has that much gravity, and you're reducing him to just a pick and roll man. That is a huge, huge shame. I think that it seems like they stumbled onto Şengün this season, and it kind of goes back to what Sam Emick, we were listening to part of the pod earlier where he talked about how he wasn't really a priority in the Silas era. And now it's like Ime came here. It's like, I don't know if you ever worked at a restaurant where you come in after somebody else and you got it like, damn, they didn't do nothing. Like this one of those things where like Şengün, like you like, damn, he's this good. And he's just been sitting here. So we're watching him do all this screening and all this kind of random stuff that is for worse players, Holiday, some nights Fred. And it's hella frustrating, bro, because like you're going to point out, and I've been looking at some of these stats for the past few years, running and spamming pick and rolls with a guard like Fred VanVleet that has no natural leverage over the defense is kind of stupid. And the fact that they're even middle of the pack efficiency as a pick and roll with Şengün being the heavy part of that scoring punch in there is impressive. You know what I mean? And not saying I'm low on Fred VanVleet, but even for me, I think that they're not even using him properly. Like they're just spamming the same actions, and it's not resulting in good offense. It's really ugly.
I completely agree. I think that Ime went into the training camp as maybe thinking, oh, Jalen's our guy or someone else is our guy. Like we got to get these people involved. Fred's going to be our main guy. Dylan's going to be our main guy, or whatever you want to call it. He stumbled to training camp with maybe a plan and started kind of basic for everybody. He kind of throughout the season noticed that Alpy's that guy. Alpy's that guy that you can kind of create an offense around. You can put players around him. You can build an offense around him, but you have to build around the defense, obviously, because he has limitations on that. And also, I think, by the way, I just think players get better at defense as they get older. It's just. I think he's going to be fine in that department. I don't really have that much concerns, but the offense, like you said, it's kind of a disgrace. If you look at the top 5 pick and roll usage numbers in the NBA, the top 5 teams that run pick and roll the most is the Charlotte Hornets, the Chicago Bulls, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Houston Rockets, and the Detroit Pistons. And then what do all those teams have in common? They're ranked bottom 10 in offensive rating. So they're terrible. They're terrible offensive teams, and they rely on the pick and roll because they don't have the creativity to do anything else. And also, not even that, we're about 27th in spot up shooting frequency in the NBA. So we're not even. at this point, I'm not sure if it's Ime's just lack of creativity, which I don't think it is, but I think it's also a lot due to the personnel.
Yeah.
But we're also about bottom 10 in off-ball screens and DHOs and handoffs. If you want to see more, you want to see more off-ball movement. You want to see people running around, especially when Schengen has the ball. And they've been kind of doing this, especially in the Lakers game when Alpi had the ball. You had guards, everybody running around, setting screens for each other, and getting open shots. And that's what I love. I tweeted that. I said, by the way, this is how you play Alper and Şengün. And then also one of our biggest lowest numbers, which actually kind of like flew out of my radar, but we're on cuts, on scoring off of cuts, we're 25th in frequency. So and then if you look at the teams that are actually like, that have the playmaking big, such as Sabonis, Jokic, the Denver Nuggets and the Sacramento Kings. In those categories, in off-ball screening, they are. Let me pull up the numbers. Yeah, in DHOs and handoffs, they're top 3. They're top 3 in those usage, and they're also top 3 in cuts. And they don't have. They're very low in pick and roll. They don't use pick and roll. They have a very advanced offense, and maybe it's because we start from basic and we're starting from pick and roll. But at a certain point during the season, you want to see that off-ball movement. You want to see people actually getting open shots. Now, it's also the personnel. You need shooters to do that. So we're going to see what Ime does with hopefully some new people in the building that can actually shoot the basketball.
Let me give you a stat that I've been following. So the Rockets have been top 5 in pick and roll frequency since 2021, since like the Jalen's rookie year, right?
Yeah.
In that period, we've been the worst corner 3 frequency team in the league 3 years in a row, and even into Ime's era. The reason that's significant, when you are running a pick and roll, one of the defensive kind of principles in guarding the pick and roll is to stop the big man from rolling while the drop big, usually most teams run a drop. So, and this is kind of ties into the Şengün quote unquote defensive issues. When you have a big man in a drop, let's say Alp's in a drop, and let's say Anthony Simons has Aiden screening for him. Aiden sets the screen. Anthony comes off the screen. Right now, Şengün is waiting for Fred or Jalen to get around Aiden's body to get back into position to guard Anthony. As that screen happens, Aiden starts to roll. Şengün, if he's playing a deep drop, has to keep both 2 men in front of him at the same time, depending on who the player that has the ball is. If it's a shooter, you can't completely drop too deep. So you have to kind of play too. And a lot of times when he struggles, it's against those type of players that are shooting threats, not just driving. If it's a driving threat, he can just kind of cheat over to the big and sell out to stop that. If it's a shooting threat, there's about 2 or 3 guys in the NBA that are long enough to be able to contest or at least fake contest on a good shooter or a guard that's dynamic and still have enough length to peel back and disrupt the lob. And he is definitely not one of them. How teams, how they counter that on defense, whoever is on the weak side is supposed to come down and pre-roll and tag, the term tag that big man. And then their job is to hold that big man from getting a dunk until either your big man gets back into position, or if he never does and has to switch out, you have to then split tagging that big man and your assignment in the corner. So what that does, all that to say, on elite pick and roll teams, you generate a lot of corner threes. Because if you have a dynamic guard, you have a good lob threat, then you're putting that defense in a bind. More often than not, that tag has to come, or it's going to be lobs on your head. We saw this with James Harden. That's why PJ Tucker got paid, right? This is how PJ Tucker made his money, shooting corner threes. One of the corner 3 maestro. Why was he so open from the corner? Because Clint Capella and James Harden were reigning terror on opposing defenses. If you cannot generate corner threes out of a pick and roll, then what you are doing is playing in a box. And basically, our 2-man game for the Rockets is Fred and Alp and against the rest of the defense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I could blame Fred for that because Fred's vision in the pick and roll, to me, for a guard as good as he is bad. He doesn't really read the game. And the other aspect of that is, who's he kicking it out to, bro? Jayshawn Tate in the corner. Jeff Green, Amen Thompson in the slot. Like, so this goes back to what you're saying about the roster being just bad. Like, we just need some adequate shooting, not even great. Like, I posted this yesterday. The Rockets are currently, as we speak, in the last 15 games, the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just flat out. No rates, just 31%. The worst free throw shooting team. We're also the worst team on wide open threes in the NBA.
That's crazy.
4 spots lower than the Detroit Pistons, bro.
That's crazy. Wide open threes.
Wide open. Listen, bro. Wide open. Not the open. The one where the defender is 6 feet away.
Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with. Like, so for me, the assessment on this, on Alperen Sengun's play and his effectiveness, it just kind of ties back into why I think that he needs to be, like, to me, at this point, I'm building my team to complement him. In this era, I've already seen enough data from him to know that this is a guy that he's going to be, if maybe he's not the centerpiece, but he is a centerpiece within this thing because his skill set is dynamic. I think right now he just needs somebody on the perimeter to match that. Is it Jalen? Is it somebody? Is it a man? We don't know yet. But those numbers are jarring. Let me ask you, what do you think, aside from just getting shooters? I know you alluded to it with some of the Sacramento and the Denver teams. What play style do you think would like, with what we have, maybe add a couple shooters here, that they can realistically transition to over time? That, you know, obviously we're not going to be running the triangle or anything or the warrior style motion, but what is something that you would like to see them kind of do with him and some of the guards on the team?
I mean, you have two options. You have Jalen on the roster, and you could already start doing it with the DHL's handoffs. And interestingly enough, we kind of did that during the Salas era, and that kind of it was a little effective. Like you got some Jalen buckets here and there, and also Alpi would pick and pop, and then also maybe pass it out to somebody else. But I do like what Denver's doing. I kind of would want to emulate them a little bit more than Sacramento. Sacramento is like all gas, no brakes. They're a fast team. They got De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis. He's aggressive, extremely aggressive, and I don't know their pace, but I'm sure they're just a fast team, fast aggressive team. Denver is the definition of what you call the half court offense. They get everyone in motion. You have shooters all around you, and then you also have just like a weak. This is on defense. You have Aaron Gordon, who can kind of hit threes, but also he's just a great inverse pick and roll with option with Jokic, and I haven't even seen that. I want to see I know Jabari's he's not like grown into it, but I would want to see an inverse pick and roll with Jabari and Alpi at some point in time where Alpi's the ball handler and Jabari's like the role
screener. That pick and pop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you noticed that? To me, I was saying this, when Alpi drives like downhill, he's one of the like best drivers to get into the basket in the league.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the league.
He has the I did a stat on drives, I think drives points percentage, like points per drive basically. If you basically filtered it out by more than 250 drives, Alpi's ranked 4th. So you have players like Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's like a 98%. He every time he drives, he gets points some way or another. Jason Tatum, I think someone else was on, a couple other people, but they were all like in that tier 1 caliber. So he's already putting a mark that he's one of the best guys in the role, like as a driver or in the role. But I really think we're doing him a disservice, and I think it's also could be due to personnel. I do have a stat from 2022 where because I do think Udoka is capable of doing this. In 2022, when he coached the Celtics, I think the Celtics had they were one of the best teams in terms of they're one of the best teams in terms of off ball screens and spot up shots. The top like a top 5, I think. but not pick and roll. Frequency wise, not pick and roll, but they did all that and even cuts. So I think Udoka is capable. It's just that we don't have the personnel. That's the reason why I think Udoka is the coach. But we just haven't been seeing it yet. And it's because we just don't have the personnel.
I'm praying you're right. And I think what you're alluding to, the Celtics were top 5 in spot ups. They were top 5 in spot up percentage, spot up frequency. They were also top 5 in 3-point attempts. So I did a video on Coach Udoka's, like his coaching, like his play styles, and what we're seeing is not what I imagined. That's why I'm just really, really disappointed. And it's kind of odd because one thing I know his offense does is generate threes. And honestly, we generate threes at a middle of the pack rate. So even with all the troubles we have, I mean, our guys are getting open shots. They just can't hit them. You talked about Denver. I'm looking on the site on Sensors Culture. The link is for that site is going to be in the description for this podcast. So y'all check it out. It's really easy. And I love how you put the rankings next to the measure. So I don't even have to filter it out. I already know where they rank amongst the different things. That's definitely different. Love that. So Denver, you look at their play styles, the offensive frequency on that. They are number 6 in off screens, number 3 in DHOs. They're also number 3 in off cuts. And interestingly enough, number 1 in post ups, which to me is the perfect profile for a team that has a dominant post player. A pick and roll, in my opinion, is a guard. Like if I had a Luka, Harden, I'm going to spam the pick and roll because you're basically making that guard, the savant, the brain that's running that pick and roll. They are supposed to be able to see the entire court, all 4 other players, and make the best decision for your team to score every single time. That is not the case with Fred VanVleet, sadly. So I'm thinking that, the Rockets, not that LP, I don't really care about him posting up, but what we're talking about is him getting it at different spots on the court where you can run the guards off of that. And then even like with Sabonis, how they use Sabonis, how he gets all these assists is that the off balls and the off screen movements from guys like Keegan Murray who come off those screens flying. Those are the easiest assists that you can get where you just bounce the ball, guy picks it up and shoots. I think Jabari can do that inside the 3-point line. I think Jalen can get some DHOs inside the arc where he can get to the basket and get a drive, even at the top of the key. And one thing we don't see LP get to do is slip screens, right? If you start running enough DHOs, just like Sabonis, that's how he gets a lot of his easy buckets, is that you fake a handoff and slip out, and now you got the ball and a defender is caught off guard. It's just a lot of hard. It's just like, to me, more of the Silas era offense. Really disappointing in that. Yeah, really disappointing. Man, appreciate you, dog, for coming through to pod with us. Once again, it's at Mitty on Twitter. The website is Centers Culture for y'all, all you stat heads. I know some of y'all on the channel have your own channels. Check out the website. Show them support. And also, you say you're going to add a player's version, right? I know you have the team rankings up, but a future state is going to be like where you have all the player ratings and all that stuff up in the same way, correct?
Absolutely. And I'm also adding a matchup. So you know how you got the matchup data for Anthony Davis versus LP, and LP kind of like defended really well against that. So I'll have that for every single game where you'll see the best defense against the worst defender, I guess, or I guess the worst offense person, and then the best offense against the worst defense. And then you'll have you'll have a list of them, and then you'll have the single matchups, and then against the whole team. So there's a lot coming. I want this to be free. I want everyone to be able to see it. And this is honestly how I do my analytics. This is what I look at. I look at this screen. I don't look at anything else. There's just so much valuable data that NBA gives you for free, and I'm just aggregating it and making it better. And also, I might go into predictions later. But right now, it's awesome. I appreciate it, though.
No, I appreciate you. I'm definitely gonna have you back more because, like I said, we're speaking the same language. But appreciate you, bro. Shout out to all the Chop Shop listeners. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop. We're gonna keep dropping that. Bye.